Hey, podcast world. This is Ramon Sanchez. I'm a licensed clinical social worker out in California and host of Destigmatized Mental Health Podcast, a roundtable podcast for professionals I know, members of my community, and some of my friends can discuss topics worth destigmatizing. For this episode, I've invited Javier Barba. Javier is a resident of Chapter of California, proud father, hard worker, and former California State University Bakersfield soccer star. He's the founder and creator of the annual soccer tournament and toy clothing drive that has been happening for the past 10 years. This year, he celebrates a milestone. It's his 10th annual toy drive. It's a 6 versus 6 co-ed soccer tournament happening Sunday, December 14th, 2025, to help create enchanting moments for children in Kern County. Javier is truly passionate about giving back to his community, and I'm excited to talk to him about this journey, what drove him to go ahead and do this work, and how giving back is a powerful act of mental well-being. And now, here's our episode. Destigmatized Mental Health Podcast, Season 4, Episode 9. I'm here recording this episode with my guest, Javier Barba. And Javier, before we get started, you've been a reoccurring guest, so welcome back, man.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Ramon. Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Of course, man. So wanted to go ahead and have you go ahead and come in as one of our guests, as you're going to be doing another soccer tournament. You've been doing this for quite a bit of time. From what I remember, you've been doing this for about 10 years. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yep, pretty much. This is our 10th year.
10th annual 6 versus 6 this year.
Yep. This year is going to be, it's always been a short-sighted tournament. And this year is going to be 6 versus 6.
Yeah, last year I remember you did something along the lines of 7 versus 7. But I'm happy that you're doing this. So for those that may not know, this has been an annual toy drive and soccer tournament that Javier has been doing for the past 10 years. It's been in different venues, but every single year it's been growing and it's been gaining momentum. And before we even get started to even talk about that event and what inspired you to go ahead and do such an event, where can people find you? How can people reach out to you? Tell us about you and about this tournament.
Okay, well, first of all, I am Javier Barba. Been living in Shafter for the past 28 years. So born and partly raised in Mexico, Zapopan, Jalisco. That's where I was born. Colonial Vigía, to be specific. And came out, migrated to the U.S. at age 10, 1997. Been living in Shafter for, since then. That's been the only city I've lived in. And pretty much just this tournament, I am a hardcore soccer player. I mean, I grew up playing soccer. I still play soccer. Not as much, but I still go out there and run around a little bit. But this tournament is part of the bigger cause, which is giving back to the community. I came up with this idea back in 2016, just having a small tournament with the idea of soccer players giving back to the community. That was the original idea. Like, basically, soccer players care. That was kind of like the motto I had initially. And just the idea has been raise funds, buy toys, buy gifts, collaborating with local resource centers, and delivering toys in person. That has been the unique thing about this project, that we deliver the toys in person to the families' homes.
It puts you in a situation where you're able to go ahead and meet the families and the people that also donate with you and do and write this with you. They're able to go ahead and see the hardships of these families as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you're a hardcore soccer player, man. You've been doing this for quite a bit of time. I mean, you used to be a soccer star yourself. You were a part of the CSUB men's soccer team. I'm sure you still are. You were really good.
Well, I was. I mean, not in the shape I was years back, but I had the fortune, the pleasure, being part of the CSUB men's soccer team, 2006 to 2009, and one of the greatest experiences. Because honestly, I never thought I would be playing at that level. Of course, any soccer player, wishes to make it to the big leagues. But for me, playing in college at Division I level against some big schools, that was my professional career.
Yeah, that must have been pretty cool. And I'm super curious about your upbringing. You and I, we grew up in Shafter. I know that you mentioned that you immigrated from Mexico. Shafter, at the time that we grew up, I mean, it's definitely boomed since,
Definitely.
you know, since we've been there. But when you and I grew up, I mean, it was poverty, man. I mean, or not necessarily poverty, but we didn't know what hunger was, or at least I don't think we did.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we dealt with poverty in a lot of ways, a lot of sacrifices that our families did. And I mean, did you grow up in that low income, financial straining environment that I grew up in? And if so, how did these experiences shape your view of the world and the desire to even want to go ahead and give back?
Well, yeah, certainly I did grow up in a, lacking resources. I mean, that goes back to back in Mexico. Because, I mean, I grew up my dad was here. So all 5 of us, just to give a little backstory, my parents got married. They had my 2 oldest brothers were born here. Then my mom went back to Mexico. And then my older brother, Jaime, myself, and Rene were born in Mexico. So for about 15 years, we lived out there. My dad was over here, basically living with a lot of different families, a lot of family members, a lot of them. And it wasn't until 1997 that we came over here and we lived together. And actually on the drive here, I was doing the math, and I was, man, like my dad at 50, he was 51 years old. He was finally able to have his own place and his family together. And for me living with my dad and my parents together, it was until age 10. And, farm workers, traditional farm worker family, both of my parents worked. We lived in the projects. So we've always said, like, if you grew up in the projects and we made it out of the projects, that's like the academy of life.
Yeah, and for those people that may not know what the projects are, those are Section 8 housing, as it's known as now. For us, that's what it was known as, the projects. And it's definitely a humbling experience to go ahead and be, part of that. I lived in a migrant camp. That's where I grew up in Willow. Okay. And I mean, I could definitely relate, and I could definitely see. But growing up without your parents present, I'm sure that must have been difficult. Growing up as a young man with so many. You have older siblings. You're the youngest, right?
I'm the 4th.
You're the 4th.
Yeah.
Out of how many?
Out of 5.
Out of 5. So you're the second youngest. So you understand, and just having to grow up without a mom, I'm sure that must have been difficult without, for a significant part of your life, her having to go back, and that must have been hard. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, when I came here, I was 10. So there's probably a lot of things I don't remember. But my oldest, like the oldest 2, they were 17 and I think 16 when we came. So they remember more of all those, the hardships, sacrifices. But definitely it was just different. But at the same time, I was able to see what my mom did for, on her own, or her contribution to basically, we would sell candy, fruit, and a lot of things out there just outside the house. And that's how just that extra, cash that she would get. And there's a lot. My mom's always been a little hustler, doing little things here and there. But it's always like limited resources. And we would always remember when the not FedEx, the USPS envelope would arrive. It was a big one. We knew that had money in it. And that was like, tu papá mandó dinero, like, oh man, and so definitely those are things that maybe at that time we don't really understand.
Right.
But now as I'm older, as I'm a parent, and I compare kind of the life I'm trying to provide for my family, my kids, to basically what they provide to us, it's, man, like, they did so much with limited resources. And that's where the desire for me comes to want to help. To
do this tournament, in a sense, because, I mean, it sounds like there was a moment for you, or was there a moment for you and your family where, in a sense, maybe you were able to go ahead and see how the holidays and possibly even sports kind of intertwined the way that you're intertwining it? Or do you feel that idea came afterwards, like after your childhood?
Well, I mean, it just gradually, my understanding of it, came. Our first Christmas was with the Wasco with my mom, my dad's sister. And there's 5 of them. And I remember that each of them gifted one of us, like the oldest gifted the oldest and so forth. And that was our first Christmas. There's a picture, I'm wearing a 49er jacket and that I found on the playground. So the gifts that we got weren't really, what we asked for. And even back in Mexico, and there's a story that I've always remember, especially now that the World Cup, I was thinking about it yesterday. Back then, Jorge Campos was kind of the LeBron James, the Stephen Curry. Everybody wanted his jersey. So I asked my mom for the Jorge Campos uniform. And
there was no way, I'm assuming.
Well, she made it happen because she would sell clothes.
Wow.
So I woke up to a homemade Jorge Campos outfit.
That's awesome.
It was, and it's funny now because we would use my dad's with the gloves.
Yeah. The work gloves.
Yeah, they were the goalie gloves. So I come outside and my friend, he's still my friend, Vladi, caddy corner, he comes out with the legit Jorge Campos uniform. And we still talk about it, yo con el chafa y tú con el original. But now, think about it. Like, my mom's desire, okay, my son wants this Jorge Campos outfit, and I can't afford it, I'm going to make it. So and even, we live in the same house. It's not like she went somewhere else to make it.
Right.
So all those little, sacrifices that she had to make just to at least, satisfy, kind of what we wanted.
It's like now we know that she must have done it possibly in the middle of the night. When you were asleep, there were these little sacrifices that she must have made for that to happen. Yes,
she's not a lot of sacrifices. And that's part of also why I do this, why I help people, just generally speaking, and as a career, because I do work in social services, and also, as a just out of heart, outside of work.
Yeah, no, you do this completely outside of work, and I've definitely been a part of the journey for just these past 2 years, 2 out of the 10. And I see the work that you do, man. So major kudos to you. You're a former CSCB soccer star. We talked about that. And again, doing this for the past 10 years, how did the world of athletics and just competitive sports influence either your mental toughness, your mental commitment? How did being a student athlete work towards your long-term goals?
Well, I've always said if I didn't play soccer, I'll probably be in jail, or I don't know where I would be. So for me, soccer has been my outlet, since I can remember. And in college, being a student athlete, and this is for in all sports and everywhere, it's a difficult thing to balance because, those that play student athletes will understand they have to balance, your school schedule and even work to be able to play or to go to practice. I had to cancel certain classes I couldn't take because I had practice it was like 3:30 p.m. So I couldn't have any classes at 3:35. And then I was offered a position for the county. I had to decline it because I was working. I didn't work in college. So that's something else. Like, I survived off of financial aid. And there's a lot of people that really helped me. That's another piece that I'm really, really grateful for because I was a broke college student, literally. But at the same time, I was disciplined. And that's something that I kind of take pride in because I was able to go to college, thrive in college, practice, and eventually the last 2 years I was able to work. I was coaching soccer. I was balancing a lot of things. So that itself, being able to balance, is what kind of carries on to your professional career. Because I've heard and I read like sometimes student athletes kind of, become great employees.
Yeah, for sure. Being a father yourself now, being able to go ahead and share that story, I'm sure that your son, your daughter, and any future children that you and your partner may want to go ahead and have, I'm sure that that's also experienced and influenced. But not just even that, it's like amplified this desire to do this toy drive. You having the schedule that you have, working full time, being a full time father, and then coaching, being involved. What is the message that you want to go ahead and give to them? Not just to them, but also just parents that, may want to go ahead and give back more, but may not be able to. And what would you tell them?
Anytime that I get a chance to talk about this, the toy drive, and always my closing message is always help someone. If you're not able to help our drive, that's okay. There's other drives, but there's also other ways to help. So you don't necessarily have to help somebody financially or give something to someone. There's other ways. And it can be very simple as giving somebody a ride, picking somebody up, offering something to someone without anything in return. And that's also another important thing. Like, you're doing something, look for something, look around. If you're at the grocery store and you see somebody paying and they're digging in the pocket for like pennies to, hey, come on, you got an extra $1 here. Here you go. Or somebody in the street, there's a lot of things you can do to help. But I think sometimes we feel the side of pressure, per se, I have to help financially. I have to show something that I did. Or my help has to be seen as an object. And it doesn't have to be that way. Because I get nothing out of this, financially speaking. All the work that I've done for the past 10 years, voluntary work, I spend a lot of time. And even people that have, because a lot of people have, collaborated with me. Some people have done it financially. Some people have done it with time. There's times, and you were with us last year, Ramon, and you saw, like, sorting out everything. That doesn't require money.
Yeah, no.
We need somebody to come out, help us sort out the gifts, help us take them.
For sure.
That's the help.
Yeah, even the concept of storing the gifts, like just little things like that. It's being able to go ahead and open your home, to be able to go ahead and just have a space available to have such a large amount of items. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and just kind of to close it up as a message, like, donate your time. Time is precious.
Yeah, time is precious. Time is, it's worth something. It's worth money. It could be worth a lot. So that's what you would want to tell your kids or any, parents.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. That's, And anybody that sees what I do, hears about what I do, is just that message and that example that help someone, find a way to help someone. Because there's a lot of ways that you can help someone.
Your drive, it focuses on sharing joy and creating enchanted moments for children. Being able to go ahead and hand deliver those gifts and the clothes for teens that may not necessarily be into gifts anymore, but they also are in a very vulnerable mental state of mind as they're growing up, that something like a jacket or a sweater that may enhance their wardrobe. It's just a powerful moment. And to me, I see this as a powerful mission. For me, that's why I get involved. Considering the stresses and the financial hardships that exist nowadays, that family face, what do those moments mean to you? And I guess now I'm kind of speaking because, again, this was destigmatized, and I feel like in some years you've had trouble being able to go ahead and find volunteers. So like now that we're looking for volunteers to go ahead and come on and let's go ahead and distribute these toys and this clothing to these families, what would you want to tell them? Well,
reach out. If they want to help, I can definitely use the help, whether it's, because it's all this drive, it's like different phases. Right now we're in the tournament phase. We have the tournament next weekend. And then we're going to have, a decent amount of money that we have to go buy the gifts. And we also, we include kids 0 to 17. And a lot of times, like you said, teenagers, they don't want a toy. They don't want a toy gun. They don't want a Nerf gun. So okay. And even in some drives, like I believe Toy for Tots or some others, they only give out toys. And what about the teenagers? They don't get anything. And that's when we come in. And a jacket, sweaters, soccer balls, perfumes, colognes, just things that cosmetics for the young ladies. And ultimately, as I mentioned, we can use the help delivering, because we have to go out to these towns and we deliver. We don't just deliver one town. We deliver Shafter, Bunwello, Lost Hills, Wasco, McFarland, Delano, Lamont. So we spread out among different cities. So
Majority of them, they're rural communities within Kern County because those are the areas that are most in need. I mean, there's areas in Bakersfield for sure,
Yes.
but I mean, for the most part, those are the people that we consider our people. You know, they're what we know. You know, you and I are offspring of, and even products of, working in agriculture. So for us, that's it hits different. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, definitely, because we see, and that's something. Because since we go out, we get to see, you know, the environment that some of these families live in, and also we cover that gap because some families, and I've experienced this where they don't feel comfortable in going to the community to go for a gift because sometimes they don't have transportation. They don't know where it's at. They're scared. Some people are victims of domestic violence, for example. Even when I call, they get hesitant. But that's, we find a way to make it work. And we know we all have some sort of need. But that's when I really tell and emphasize with my community partners and even some of the teachers that I collaborate with, identify some students. If there's a student that you see that wears the same sweater, same jacket, let me know, or they wear, some torn shoes. We can make, some exceptions and buy them a little more expensive gift, to cover that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's been a lot of community partners that have, at the time of this recording, have came in. I know, my podcast, my private practice, Cultura Mental Health, Radio Lob, Canelo Rolls, Olivia's Insurance, and Primo Brands, Advanced Beverage has also kicked in, just to name a few. And there's one more that I'm missing. That's the MD logo.
MD, Mario and Daisy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been with us since the get-go. Most of his contributions, all his contributions have gone to the Buenwillow community because he's from Buenwillow, Mario Nunez. And he actually just sent me a message right now about a video in Mexico. He's like, hey, that should be our next target, delivering in Mexico.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's more. I'll name a few, and there's, I don't mean to leave anybody out, Hector Gutierrez, California Home Pros. He's the one that's provided names, families in Los Hills, because he used to work in Los Hills. Then now he's in Wasco, working on that list. The Shafter Family Resource Center, that's where everything started. Because before they used to cover all little outlying areas, but due to funding or some reason, they split. So now I think every town has their own. And now I have to just reach out to them. But also and there's just individuals that, they prefer to remain, unrecognized publicly. Sure. But yeah, there's been a lot of people that really feel like they have something that they want to give. And I become that bridge. And then, and I always ask them, hey, if you give me $100, the first thing I ask you is, where do you want this money to go?
Yeah.
And if you're from Wasco Kid, I'll make sure that money goes to the Wasco Kid. And I'll find them. We'll definitely find them.
Yeah. It hasn't been hard to go ahead and find organizations to go ahead and, they definitely reach out. It's just how big can we make this? And we're just trying to make this bigger and bigger, especially it being the 10th year. At least that's my goal for you, to be able to go ahead and do something like this. From a personal and emotional perspective, what does it feel like for you and your team when you're delivering these toys and you see the impact of the hard work that comes from this tournament and essentially the reward from the labor that you've done? How beneficial is that for your mental health?
It's satisfying. Well, it's very tiring. I gotta acknowledge that. A lot of work. And I always take the 26th off, and I always tell my boss, I'm not sick, I'm tired. I feel like this whole month of December, like my body's tight, like on go-go mode. So when I'm done, my body just lets loose. And I'm super tired, like the days after. But just the feeling. Some of these kids, the hug, the tight, genuine hug that you get from them when they receive that doll, the little Mickey Mouse, the little dinosaur, that's what gets you, what basically inspires me to continue. To be honest, just that tight hug that I receive, that thank you, that genuine thank you, the face on those families, the parents, they're basically at this moment, a lot of parents are like, man, how am I going to do it? I have all these things to pay, all the bills, and I have to, come up with something to get gifts. They're praying for someone to, and we are, we're that answered prayer for these families.
For sure. And that's awesome. And yeah, I see the pictures, man. And that's what makes me want to help. That's what makes me want to be part of it. And I just encourage anyone to go ahead and come on board. Let's talk about the event. 6 versus 6, co-ed tournament, music, food, giveaways. What role do you think the community event like this, and this event's going to be at Los this indoor soccer that's located on the 7060 State Road. It's an indoor soccer field. So major shout out to them. They're providing this field for free. And yeah, if anyone wants to go ahead and host any tournaments out there, definitely go ahead and reach out to them. They're very easy to find. So, given this event, this community event, it blends a lot of fun. It's healthy competition, and it's charity. Playing in Destigmatize Mental Health, my podcast, I feel like that's where that connection, that's where we link. We're able to go ahead and foster a lot of the connection, as well as reduce a lot of the isolation by going to events like these, and build strong support amongst the soccer community, but also amongst neighbors. What are your thoughts on that?
It is family friendly, and it's an opportunity for the soccer community and for anybody that you don't have to play. You can just you can go watch. It gets more and more competitive each year, but it's an opportunity where people donate, whether it's a monetary amount or gift, and we play. So it's a win-win situation, and it has grown. This year we were planning to have 8 teams, and dancing around the idea of pushing it to 10 teams, which will stretch it out. And ultimately it's just, more funds, more toys, more kids that are helped. And for those that are not playing, because I always hear that, I'm not in shape. Like, it's okay. Go out and watch. They're pretty competitive. And there's food, there's giveaways. We have our DJ Hamber providing the entertainment. He's been with us also since the get-go. And it's just, I looked already, it's not going to rain. It's just an opportunity to go out and, have some fun and ultimately, for this great cause.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it really is a great cause. And again, these toys are going to go ahead and be benefiting a lot of the children in Kern County. Could you share some of the big challenges that you've had within these past 10 years that maybe you've faced in the past, or maybe that you're facing this year as you're organizing this event? Because again, events like these, we've gotten connected with different media outlets, and you've been able to go ahead and do different interviews. And they highlight the positive stuff, but it's not all cupcakes and rainbows, and it's not all great, man. Talk to me about some of the challenges that you've dealt with.
Well, the biggest challenge that I have is that I have to have the faith that it's going to work. Because the reason I say this is we rely heavily on this tournament. And I have told everybody, pray that it doesn't rain. If it were to rain or something, just bad weather, we would have to cancel. And, this will shift in a different direction. So when I reach out to the communities, to the teachers, the people that I'm getting the list from of these students, they always ask me how many. And I'm always hesitant about how many I should commit to. And in the early years, I would always commit to over 200. And many times I ran short, of funds, and, I had to cover the rest. So now, that's just that piece where I have to become careful with overcommitting, with these, community partners. And for someone to tell a family member, hey, these guys are going to, provide a gift to you. And then, never mind, they weren't able to. And fortunately, we made it work. It's worked every year. We've been able to reach out to and help every kid that we had on our list. But it's just that concern, throughout the planning phase. And that's just that tournament. And the other challenge becomes being that we are not just the volunteer piece, the hands that I've always been able to use, just to deliver the gifts. Because, at times I have to deliver to the Wasco community, to the Shafter community, to the Los Hills community, to the Delano community, and that's all like one thing. And at a personal level, biggest challenge, another thing has been that it has taken away from my family's Christmas experience, to call it that. So, over the recent years, it's been better, but at times, early on, it was like Christmas wasn't Christmas for us. And my wife has been very supportive, but she's also been, putting some stricter boundaries on me. For example,
there has to be boundaries.
Yes. And like I'm not able to deliver. I used to deliver on Christmas Day. I would wake up early on Christmas Day and go out to deliver these gifts. Like, nope, Christmas Day's for us. Okay, I see it. And I feel embarrassed to say this, but 2 years ago, I forgot to buy my son's gifts. So it was the 24th. We're getting ready to go to my suegra's house for, Christmas Eve. And I'm like, dang, I didn't buy my son anything. So my time is heavily invested in these children, and then I forgot to buy one for my son. So I had to reach out to Rafael Zamudio. They have their own toy drive, the one they do in Shafter. Like, hey, Rafa, do you have any gifts for a 1-year-old? I mean, that wouldn't be hard to. I went over, he gave me, toma, and so yeah. So that's just having to balance, this as a cause, understanding that I'm doing, something for the community, but at the same time, reminding myself, like, I do have my wife and my 2 kids at home. They also deserve to have me present and enjoying just the Christmas experience, just from the whole month of experience. That's our December, watching movies, baking cookies, the Elf on the Shelf, and everything that comes with Christmas.
Yeah, for sure. Being able to go ahead and create those cool traditions, the Elf on the Shelf, it's a very new one. And again, I feel like, and I talk about this, being a Latino male, it's like there's part of our culture that there's some really cool things, beautiful aspects of it. And then there's some aspects that it's like we want to go ahead and kind of distance ourselves from and create new traditions. And I'm super proud of your wife to be able to go ahead and have those boundaries. And I know that you see that as well. You see the fact that you also want to go ahead and create these memories with your children and have these moments. So there's nothing wrong with being able to go ahead and have these gifts delivered a couple of days before and know that these children are going to go ahead and they are grateful regardless. And that's awesome. You mentioned being a hardworking individual, just a proud father. I'm sure that moment, that very vulnerable moment where you forgot to go ahead and get your son a gift is extremely difficult for you to be able to go ahead and have in your arsenal, but it's part of what you've been through and who you are. And I'm curious to know if there are these pressures that exist being a Latino male, particularly as a father, and being the community leader that you are, to have to go ahead and appear. Do you have this pressure of having to appear really strong for, and that you have everything put together? Do you feel like you go through that?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Because in my situation, my wife's at home, so the sole provider. And so that limits us, at home and just having to make it work, and there's times that I just have to say no to things. And even, even when it comes to Christmas, I feel in the way that my kids get something, not to say everything, throughout the year. So as much as some people put the pressure on themselves, like I have to get something on Christmas Day, well, I remind myself, what did I do from January until December 24th? And sometimes, of course, that feeling for kids, hoping up to gifts, yes. But for me to feel at times that it has to be something significant, and it's not. Like, my kids don't really get toys. They do get toys, but not like big toys.
That's not the priority.
No, for me, it's just as long as they have their PJs, their sweaters, things like that, their basic needs are met. And, of course, we take care of them,
Of course.
But I just have to remind myself, I put myself last, because at the end, want to make sure that I meet the needs, the basic needs at home, and then anything extra. But I'm a huge, huge, huge believer that everything that we do comes back, to, like you say, 2 to 1, or God multiplies what you do. So for me, and I'm very honest when I say this, I do this because I'm like, God is going to give us something back, you know, and everything that we've had, and everything that I've accomplished, because like we said, not everything is money. It's opportunities, it's health, it's being able to make it to work, make it back home. Those are things that we take for granted. And that's how I feel sometimes God even pays back. 2 days ago, I hit a little $10 parlay. I won like $300. Like, hey, that's God's paying back for this toy drive. But that's kind of why I do it. And I remind myself, okay, if I do this, I'm going to get something back. And if I'm kind of just in the future, I'm really hoping, you know, just for good outcomes.
Yeah. In the spirit of destigmatization, with this being the name of my podcast, what's one piece of advice that you would want to give to other hardworking fathers, men who are struggling silently, but feel that they can't ask for help?
Wow, that is it's tough. It's tough to even for me, and not many people have asked me this question, where sometimes I don't know who to tell, and I'm being vulnerable here because I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, like I'm being a little something, and you know, just that sort of weakness, and just to kind of share something a little more personal. You know, work is work. You know, I work in social services, and it's, you know, budget cuts, all that stuff, just pretty stressful.
I'm sure it takes a toll on you just mentally.
Yes. So that, and then the fact that I'm the only provider, sometimes financially we're like, okay, but I just act like nothing's happening, you know? And I get home and sometimes I'm just like quiet. I'm like, I'd rather be quiet than not saying anything. And actually on Monday, my director, she called me in. She asked me, hey, Javier, what's going on? You know, you look disengaged. You look like you don't want to be here. I'm like, I do. You know, of course I want to be here. You know, it's just, and I didn't tell her many details, but I told her, like, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty with work, with the cuts, and at home, you know, I have a situation with my son that he has some symptoms about autism. So we've been on it. We've been receiving a lot of help, services. We've been consulting. We're on top of it. So that's something else. And just everything combined is just, I think it's just part of the ride as a parent, as a provider, that, not to say to suck it up, but also I think it's just to be acknowledged. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves that we're doing enough. And what we're doing is something productive. Because naturally, you know, in a state of mind when you're nervous, when you're anxious, when you're stressed out, you're going to be thinking about what you haven't done. So if you've done 99 out of 100 things, you're going to think about the one thing that you haven't done. And that's going to stick. It's going to feel like if it's 99 things that you haven't done. So I think it's just that recognition, that self-talk, the positive affirmations. And I think the toughest thing is for just to say it. Because sometimes for me to say it and verbalizing it, as simple as it sounds, that's like, no, I don't want to. But I think it's just, it has to leave your body. Because everything that comes in your body has to exit. And if it doesn't exit in a healthy way, it's going to exit in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, that's when it could go ahead and affect a lot of your family members, the people that are most important in your life. It could come out in a very unhealthy, maladaptive way, and could cause significant turmoil, which, since this episode's being recorded during the holiday seasons, it could really kill your holidays.
Yeah, definitely. And, we read, memes and, motivational phrases. And the one that stuck to me is that we hold our patience at work, during like some stressful meetings, stressful moments. But at home, you lose it because your kid doesn't want to brush their teeth. So who gets the short end of the stick? Is your kids get yelled at because they didn't brush their teeth? But for other situations that you probably should have, been more expressive, you weren't.
Yeah, that's displacement at its finest right there.
Definitely.
For sure. Thanks for the vulnerability, man. Being able to go ahead and talk about your son. I know that you're saying that there's the sucking it up component, but you're not. You're asking for help, and because there's a lot of things we know what we know, and when it comes down to just even symptoms of autism or early detection of autism, and I feel like you and I we don't necessarily have those skills. We know about it enough, but we're getting the resources, and that means that shows a lot in comparison to the generations even prior to us. A lot of them just didn't even know what was happening. It was just, it was considered a mental retardation, and it was just like, it is what it is. And when they learned about it, it was like, well, it's kind of too late.
Yes.
And so I'm glad you're doing something, you and your family are doing something about it early on. So thank you for the vulnerability and just even talking about, everything that you mentioned regarding work stress and work-life balance. Super awesome. It wouldn't be stigmatized if I don't, share that same level of vulnerability. So for me, what I want to go ahead and do is I just want to go ahead and thank you, man. And maybe I've told you this, maybe not in this extent, but you have been an inspiration to me for years. You have been someone that I've been, I'm happy to work with, and I consider you a friend, and you've became a friend. And I just get emotional thinking about this guy. We had this mentor. His name was Dr. Stanley Clark, and he was the reason why we got brought in together. He was a professor of political science, and he was a big part of my life, at least. And there was a project that he wanted us to work on, and that project didn't happen. We weren't able to finalize it, but in a lot of ways, we did what he wanted. We have been able to go ahead and do various other events. Like for me, it's being able to create Races of Kern with some of my friends. For you, it's a soccer tournament. I find our conversations inspiring as we talk about the power of being able to go ahead and give back and that personal journey behind, just decades of community service. It's a full decade for you. So I just want to say thank you, man. I really do. I'm super thankful for Dr. Clark to bring me and be a small part of your life, man. So just thanks.
No, well, thank you, Ramon. And then I also feel the same way for you because, you have a lot of projects that you're currently working on. And I feel a lot of the people that see what you're doing, this podcast, you're the Races of Kern. And then you recently became licensed. And all these professional accomplishments are what people want to have. At a personal level, I have my master's degree in public administration. And I always tell myself, I should have been a social worker. I should be licensed at this moment. But for some reason, I took a different course of study. And I'm like, I know these skills that these guys do. I'm like, I just didn't follow through. But I think just this, even here, the people would come into this room and see everything he has. Like, oh man, it's pretty cool setup for the podcast.
I appreciate it, man.
But just to kind of, to highlight Dr. Clark, he's, yes, you're very, very true, right in inspiration. He had this vision. It was going to be called the Latino Alumni Council, just to give some, context.
And the funniest part about it was that he was black.
Yes. And he wanted, the nutshell, he wanted more Latinos in management positions. So he's like, what do we have to do to get Latinos to get their master's degree? So he wanted to have a group of individuals from every town, city, around Kern County to become that group and go back to their communities and just, that motivation piece to younger students. We talked about it. We had a lot of sessions. It just never came to life. And I think your organization, Races of Kern, that's it. That's his vision. And I remember when I spoke to you about it, you told me I brought Dr. Clark's vision to life. And that's what it is. And I'm sure he's very proud of what we're doing, and he was always very challenging. Not challenging in that sense. He was always challenging you as a person.
Yeah, as just your character and the potential that you can go ahead and give back. I definitely would not have anything that I have without that man. I just give him so much praise.
Yeah, when I started the master's program, he asked me, "Can you get A's on all your assignments in grad school?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can try," and certainly I did. Not straight A's, but I did. I think I got a B+. And when I graduated, when I had my graduation ceremony, I was walking down the aisle, actually walking outdoors, and I ran into him. And he told me, "You're one of two reasons I'm here." I'm like, for Dr. Clark and being the person that he was, in influentially speaking, man, that's a lot for him to come to my graduation and tell me I'm here because one of two reasons I'm in Kern County is because of you. So definitely, we remember him, and maybe you should, add him to this somewhere here, in this tournament, in this cause this year. So, we gotta include his name somewhere, Ramon.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. As we wrap up, is there one message or piece of advice that you would want our listeners to take away about just even destigmatizing mental health, the importance of being part of a community, anything? And if so, what would that be?
I would say in times of stress, in times of, facing situations that we sometimes cannot control, I would suggest to come up with an idea, come up with a mini project, something that you can tell yourself that you can control. For me, this cause has been something that I can say I can control because I manage it. And to me, that alleviates some of the stress, that is caused by things that I cannot control. And a lot of times we do enough, and whatever we can't control, there's a reason why we can't control it. We rely on faith to, let God handle what we can't control. That's definitely the definition of faith. It makes things possible. But using that time that we're going to be overthinking on something, let's use that time to think about a small project in the home, anything about something that you can control. And just acknowledging everyone out there listening that has similar experiences or challenging times is just having that desire to continue and reminding yourself of what you have done. I always kind of look back and, we're always looking, that's part of survival mode. What am I not doing? Well, let's look at what you've done. Those positive affirmations, just reminding yourself, I made it this far. For a reason, I'm in this position. Because many times we prayed, to be in that position. We prayed to have that job. And now we have it. And hey, man, this is what you prayed for, right? So, and honestly, just keep moving forward. Surround yourself with good people, good networking, and definitely staying positive.
Absolutely. Once again, information, you could go ahead and find more information about this toy drive, how to get involved by checking out raicesofkern.org/toy drive. This year, it is going to be the 10th annual toy drive. It's a 6 versus 6 co-ed tournament. But again, you don't have to be part of this tournament. You could just go ahead and give a toy and just know that there is proof that exists that we do give out these toys, that we do take the time to go ahead and go shopping. We have community sponsors that believe in the mission and vision that Javier had 10 years ago. So it's just really awesome to go ahead and see this project just continue to come to life and just seeing Javier and what he has done during this time. Again, raicesofkern.org/toy drive. And how can people reach out to you directly if they want to go ahead and donate some toys? Is there a phone number, an email that they could go ahead and reach out to you? Yes,
definitely. My personal number, 661-340-1525. Again, 661-340-1525. My email, jbarba10@gmail. Again, jbarba10@gmail. And my social media, I guess you can find me too. My personal page, but reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm under, what am I under? Javier_Barba10. And yeah, like I said, in any way. And just like I close any other message, if you're not able to help here or contribute here, there's other places you can contribute. There's other ways you can help someone. Find a way, look up for a way, look around. There's always somebody in need. Be that person that's the helping hand. Yeah, it'll come back to you. Believe me. For sure it will. Yeah, it's a pretty cool feeling to go ahead and be able to go ahead and give back to the community and just kind of see it grow. Again, we're in different situations than what we were because of events like these. So kudos to you. Javier, is there anything that I didn't ask you or anything that you would like to go ahead and add as we conclude this episode? I think everything was asked. I just want to acknowledge, the close people to me, as I mentioned, my wife, supportive on even all this and everything else. And also just the inspiration of giving, because I know people are asking, why did you do this? And it's my mom, because my mom has been a hustler since I met her, since I can remember. One way or the other, she finds a way to make that extra buck. She actually has a yard sale right now. I went this morning. Yeah, the yard sale. Always looking for an extra buck. And she also does something not to this extent, but at work, she works at a packing shed. Every year, she raffles a few things. And all the money that she gets, she sends it to someone in Mexico. She identifies somebody in Mexico, and she basically picks someone, and then this year is your turn. Here's, some help. And she has told me this, and I wish I could put a tattoo on it. She told me that I pray, in Spanish, what she tells me, I pray to God to put people in need in front of me. So yo le pido a Dios que me ponga gente que enfrente de mí. So I'm like, okay. Well, that kind of inspires me to do this because I feel that I'm also looking for people in need to be placed in front of me so I can help, because I am. And if you look at my social media, I am trying to help the entire world, one person at a time.
Yeah. I think we're all doing that in our own way. Yeah, Javier, thanks so much, man. So this was a Destigmatized Mental Health podcast, season 4, episode 9, highlighting the power of community sports and giving back with Javier Barba, talking about his 10th annual soccer tournament. You can share this episode and listen to past episodes of Destigmatized Mental Health podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or where you listen to podcasts. Javier, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Ramon. Happy holidays.